Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to do a PSAT no calculator test. Now, this may not have exactly the same format that you'd be used to seeing with PSAT, but these are PSAT questions. So let's begin. What value satisfies the equation above? So we can simply solve this equation. 6y plus 3 equals 9. So we would subtract 3. And get 6y equals 6, and divide by 6 and get y equals 1. On question number 2, which ordered pair will satisfy the system of equations above? Okay, so we've got two options here. We can just solve the system of equations and find the correct answer, or we could guess and check. So we could guess and check by plugging in -1 and 2 for x and y in the first equation and the second equation. And when we find the one that worked in both equations, that's our answer. Or we can simply solve it, and I'm going to choose to just solve this one because the y's look like they're going to eliminate for me. So if I just combine these two equations, positive y plus negative y, those cancel each other out. 2x plus x is 3x. 0 plus -3 is -3. So I can divide by 3 and get x equals -1. Okay, so that eliminates options C and D because x is +1 in those options. Okay, so now I can just take this -1 and substitute it into either of these equations. I'll do the bottom equation. So x is -1 minus y equals -3. So we'll add 1 and get -y equals, and then -3 plus 1 is -2. And if -y equals -2, then positive y equals +2. So we've got -1, 2, that is option A. Okay, now if we did guess and check, we would have been lucky that option A would have worked and we wouldn't have to check any more options. Number 3, the function f is defined above. So we have f of x equals 9 minus 2x. What is the value of f of 2? So f of 2 means put 2 in for any x's. So 9 minus 2 times, and then the x becomes 2. Okay, so we've got 9 minus, and 2 times 2 is 4. 9 minus 4 is 5, and that is option B. Question 4. A software engineer must run a new piece of software several times to determine whether it performs correctly. The function s models the number of attempts, s of t. So the function is called s of t. To run the software t minutes, so t represents minutes, after the start of one 8-hour workday. Which of the following is the best interpretation of s of 6 equals 2? Now remember, t is minutes, and here we've got 6 minutes. Okay, so we look down here, we've got after 6 minutes. That makes sense. Now look at the rest of these. 2 minutes, 6 attempts, 2 attempts. Only one of these mentions 6 minutes, and that is option A. A small town only allows a few houses to be built each year. As a result, this equation, P equals 1200 plus 50T, can model the population P of the town. So P is the population. T years, so T represents years, after 2010. Okay, so they started counting in 2010, and it follows this linear equation. What does the number 50 represent? Okay, so if T is years, 50 must be 50 houses times the number of years. So 50 would be the number of houses per year. So it looks like we started with 1,200 houses in 2010, and we're going to add 50 houses per year. So 50 represents the population of the town in 2010. No, that would be 1,200. Okay, the population of the town T years after 2010, no, that would be P. the increase in population of the town each year after 50 years. That sounds right to me. This 50 right here, that's a slope, which is a rate of increase. The increase each year is what 50 represents. Number 6. So here's a coordinate plane. When y equals 4x minus 8 is graphed, which quadrant does not contain any points on the line? So let's just sketch a quick graph. So this negative 8, that's the y-intercept. Okay, so it starts down 8. Okay, so there will be a point right there at negative 8. 4 is the slope. And the slope is 4 or 4 over 1, which means it rises 4 and runs 1. So it'll rise 4 and run 1 again. So it looks like this line is going to look something like this, and it's never going to touch quadrant 2. So option B, which quadrant does not contain any points on the line, that is quadrant 2. Number 7. The table above gives the values of the function h for some values of x. Which of the following equations could define h? So here's one option. H of x equals 5 to the x power. Okay, well, let's see if that one is true. So when x is 0, so we've got h of 0 equals 5 to the 0 power. And it's saying that that's going to equal 1, and that is true. 5 to the 0 power is 1. In fact, any number to the 0 power is defined to be 1, so this is true. Okay, let's check h of 1. So it would be 5 to the 1 power. And it's saying that that should equal 5. Is that true? 5 to the first power is 5? Yes, that is true. If the next one is true, then we're just going to choose option A and move on. If the next one is not true, we'll try option B. Okay, so h of 2. So that would be 5 to the second power. And they're saying here that h of 2 equals 25. So let's see if that's true. 5 to the second power equals 25. That is true. So it worked for 0, 1, and 2. When h of x is 5 to the x power, so A would be the correct answer. Question 8. A club sponsored a chess tournament that started with 64 participants. At the end of each round of play, half the participants were eliminated. How many participants remained in the tournament at the end of the third round? Okay, so we started with 64. Okay, so that's to begin the first round. Now, end of round 1, we're going to have half of that, 32 participants. We want to know what about the end of the third round, so we'll keep going. End of round 2, we'll have half of 32, that is 16 participants remaining. End of round 3, half of that is 8. So at the end of the third round, we are going to have 8 participants remaining, option C. Which of the following is a solution to this equation? 25 minus 3x times x plus 16 equals 0. Now when you have one binomial times another binomial set equal to 0, a solution would be something that makes one of these factors, either 25 minus 3x or x plus 16, makes one of those factors equal 0. So that means that we can, to find solutions, do 25 minus 3x equals 0 and x plus 16 equals 0. Okay, so this one's going to be easy to solve. We get x equals negative 16 just by subtracting 16 from both sides. I don't see that option over here. Okay, so let's solve this one. So we'll subtract 25 from both sides and get negative 3x equals negative 25. And we'll divide both sides by negative 3 and get x equals positive 25 over 3. Negative over negative cancels to become positive. 25 over 3, and that is option B. Number 10. The graph of the function f is shown in the xy plane above. Which of the following equations could define f? So what I want to do is look at the vertex. The vertex from the origin is shifted left 1 and down 2. Okay, now in order to shift a parabola, which this is, to the left, inside of these parentheses, we've got to have a plus. So inside the parentheses, it moves opposite the sign. So this minus 2 means it shifts right 2. And this plus 2 is left 2. And this minus 1 is right 1. And this plus 1 is left 1. This is the only one that shifts left 1. So this right here is left 1. And this minus 2 outside of the parentheses means down 2. Option D. Question 11. The kinetic energy E in joules of an object of mass m in kilograms traveling at a speed v in meters per second is given by this equation. Which of the following correctly expresses the object's mass in kilograms in terms of E and V? So, expresses mass. That right there means solve for mass, which is the letter M. So we want to solve this equation for M. So I'll rewrite the equation here. E equals 1/2 mv squared. Okay, now to get rid of this 1/2, we could multiply both sides by 2. So we get 2e equals mv squared. Now to get m by itself, we could divide by v squared. So we get m equals 2e over v squared, and that is option D. Okay, on to question number 12. The graphs in the xy plane above represent the equations in which of the following systems? Okay, so that means that one of these 4 systems has a solution right here. Now, the solution of a system of equations is the intersection of the 2 lines. Okay, so one of these systems has a solution where x is 4 and y is 4/3. So this is one where I definitely want to do guess and check. Okay, so I will plug in a 4 for x and 4/3 for y for option A. So I have 4 minus 3 times 4/3 equals 0. Now I need to see if that's true. Okay, so negative 3 times 4/3. These 3's, 3 over 3 will actually just cancel. So I have 4 minus 4 equals 0. And 4 minus 4 is 0. So it checks out in the first equation. So now let's try that point 4/3 in the second equation here. So we have 6 times 4 plus 4 times 4/3 equals 8. Okay, so 6 times 4, let's see, 6, 12, 18, 24. Okay, and then we don't just cancel here, so we've got 4 times 4, which is 16, so this is 16 over 3 equals 8. Okay, so 24 plus 16/3 equals 8. 24 is bigger than 8 by itself, so once I add to that, that's not going to work. That's not going to equal 8. Okay, so option A is no good. So we'll move on to option B. So we have 4 plus 3 times 4/3 equals 0. Okay, so 4 plus, and then these 3's will cancel. 4 equals 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. That does not equal 0. So option B did not work out in the first equation. I don't care what it does in the second equation because it didn't work in the first. So we'll move on to option C. Okay, so we have 4 for x minus 3 times y is 4/3 equals 0. So these 3's cancel. 4 minus 4 equals 0, and I know that's true. So we'll move on to number 2, or the second equation here. So 4 times 4 plus 6 times 4/3 equals 24. So 4 times 4, that's 16, plus 6 times 4, 6, 12, 18, 24 thirds equals 24. Okay, so we've got 16 plus, and then 24 divided by 3, I think that's 8. So let's count by 8s, 8, 16, 24. So 24 divided by 3 is 8. And 16 plus 8 equals 24. That is true. So that solution, 4/4 worked in both equations for C. So option C is my answer. The expression here can be written as 2 times x minus y times ax plus by, where a and b are constants. What is the value of a plus b? Okay, now this is going to be the hardest one we've had so far, and this is actually the last multiple choice, and we haven't actually just guessed on one problem yet. Now the last one we guessed and checked. That's different. Now, I don't mind you guessing once in a while because you can get a couple problems wrong and still do very well on a PSAT. So if I had to give you a piece of advice on one like this, if you're looking at this and you're like, I have no idea, don't waste time on it. Make a guess. Don't leave it blank. Make a guess and move on. Okay, but we're going to do the math here anyways, because maybe once we do this math, you'll be like, oh, hey, I get that. But if you see one like this on a PSAT and you're like, I have no idea what to do, just guess and move on. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing that happened here was they factored out a 2. So let's just do that. Let's factor a 2 out of this. So it's 2 times, and when I factor a 2 out of this term, so just divide this by 2, I get 5x squared. Okay, plus, and then I divide this one by 2, and I get 3y squared. And then I divide this by 2, and I get minus 8xy. Okay, now the next thing they did was factor out x minus y. So it's 2 times x minus y times, and then it's some number a times x plus some number b times y. Now we have to figure out what a and b are, and then we have to add a and b together. Okay, so what I need to happen is when I distribute this, I get 5x squared. So x times blank x is 5x squared. Well, that's going to have to be a 5. Okay, then when I multiply this, y and y gives me my y squared, but it has to be positive 3y squared. So I have negative y. That's going to have to be multiplied by negative 3y in order to get positive 3y squared. Okay, so the distributing that I just did now gives me my 5x squared, which I have here, and then negative y times negative 3y gives me the positive 3y squared. Now let's see if everything else works out. So if I distribute here, I get negative 3xy, and here I get negative 5xy, and when I put those together, I get my negative 8xy. So that means that a is 5 and b is negative 3. A plus b, that is 5 plus negative 3, which is 2. Okay, now let's move on to question 14. Employees at a local bookstore earn $12 per hour plus a $5 bonus for opening the store for business. So on the mornings when the employee opens up the store for business, they get an extra $5. Okay, so the money that an employee earns for one particular day, if they open the store, is $12 per hour plus their $5 bonus for opening the store. On a day when Heidi opened the store for business, she earned a total of $101. How many hours did she work that day? So the dollars that she earned is 101. She earned $12 per hour, and she opened the store for business, so she got her $5 bonus. Okay, so how many hours did she work? So let's do minus 5. Okay, so 101 minus 5, that is 96. 96 equals 12 times h, and we have to divide by 12. So remember, this is a no calculator portion. Okay, so let's just count by 12. So we've got 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 96. It took me 8 sets of 12 to get to 96. So that means she worked 8 hours. Okay, so now this was not multiple choice, which means we're going to be filling in a grid for this one. In the grid, we'll just put the number 8. Okay, on question 15. In the figure, points A, B, and C lie on line L. Okay, so here's line L with points A, B, and C right here, here, and here. Okay, so that's a straight line. What is the value of y? So I want to figure out this value right here. Now we have 2 triangles here. We need to remember that a triangle has a total of 180 degrees. So let's find this blank angle measure right here. 70 and 70 makes 140. Okay, so if I do 180 minus 140, that leaves me with 40. So this is 40 degrees right here. Okay, now let's do the same here. 50 and 50 makes 100. I'll use that to find this angle measure. Okay, so I've got 100 degrees here. A triangle makes 180. Minus 100 leaves me with 80. So this is 80 degrees. Okay, now I know this is a straight line, and these 3 angles combined form that straight line. So 40, y, and 80 all make a straight line, which means they have to combine to make 180. So if I subtract 40 and 80 from 180, I'll get y. Now 40 and 80 makes 120. So 180 minus 120 is 60, which means there's a 60 right here. So y is 60. So in my grid, I'm going to put in 60. The expression above is equivalent to 4x squared plus ax plus 5, where a is a constant. What is the value of a? So let's just take these two here, 2x plus 1 times 2x plus 5, and let's distribute. So we've got 2x times 2x, that's 4x squared. 2x times 5 is 10x. Now distribute the 1 times 2x. And 1 times 5. Okay, now I've got like terms to combine here. 4x squared plus 10x and 2x makes 12x plus 5. Okay, so right here, we want to know what is a. A times x, it's 12 times x. So x is 12, so I'm going to put 12 in my grid. And our last question, the graph of the equation y equals mx plus 1 is a line in the xy plane where m is a constant. If the line contains the point 112, what is the value of m? So this is x, this is y. So 12 for y equals m times x, which is 1, plus 1. Okay, so let's subtract 1 from both sides. I get 11 equals m times 1. M times 1 is just m. So m is 11. That is the answer I'll put in the grid. And we have finished this. We came in just under 25 minutes, even with all the extra talking. And 25 minutes is the time limit for the no calculator portion of a PSAT test. So we made it.